All right, my friends, I just pressed the Let's Go Live button. So let's wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plains of the internets before we go ahead and get started. We got to make sure that the tubes are working on the YouTubes and the Rumble tubes. And of course, we've got the Facebook tubes now, and we've got the Twitter tubes, all sorts of tubes all over the place. And it looks like they are working, which is great news. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney at the R&R Law Group, located in the always beautiful and sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. And today, my friends, well, we're going to have a pretty interesting stream here today because I'm not sure exactly where we're going, but we do have some anticipation in the air. I'm sure you feel it as well. Big question that literally hit like an hour ago is Donald Trump going to announce tonight, literally tonight, right? We got the midterms coming tomorrow. Everybody's going to be voting, but some people are saying it's going to happen. I don't know about this. We've got a poll up in the YouTube chat. The YouTube chat says, no, it's not going to happen. 63% on YouTube say no. 37% say, yeah, Trump is going to announce. We have a locals poll as well. We'll check in over there. But it's going to be interesting because people like Richard Grinnell are saying, you better watch the Ohio rally. Of course, that is taking place tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. If there's interest, we may jump into that. We'll see. But yeah, we got a big question. Is he going to announce yes or no? He had a very interesting couple rallies this last few days. He was standing out there in the rain, preaching for freedom, baby. Yeah. And Donald Trump was, delivering his messages. So we've got a big rally tonight. C-SPAN is carrying it. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. It's like, wow, hey, maybe they're expecting something, but it's coming out. And so we'll come back to that. We'll see if maybe we want to dip into that and hang out and watch it. There is a lot of election news that we're going to get to today. You can imagine, well, there's a lot of election news to get to today. Now, we spent a lot of time talking about a lot of this last night when we were on Legal Mindsets channel. If you missed that, I'd encourage you to go check that out. Fair and Balance was on over there. We had a great conversation with a bunch of people, and it was just a ton of fun. But we've got even more election news to get into today. Elon Musk endorsed the Republican Party, which caused a lot of feathers to be ruffled on the Twitterverse. They're saying, oh, yeah, free speech. Sounds like you're sort of a MAGA insurrectionist. And so we'll take a look at that. Kind of a big deal because he's got 113 million followers, and a lot of people who might be independent, I would imagine, kind of would listen to Elon. We'll see. He says Republicans are the better party. And he's doing a lot of important stuff around the world. And so it's kind of a nice endorsement. We have Ronna McDaniel. She has a very interesting statement. She's calling the Democrats inflation, education, and crime deniers. We'll listen to her. We've got clips from Representative Katie Porter, who dropped the S-bomb when she was talking to Jon Stewart. Stacy Abrams is out there saying that something like, I think she's saying this, maybe you can help me unpack it. Something like black males are more susceptible to misinformation or something like that. It's a weird thing she said. I don't know. We also have Kevin McCarthy. He's saying that the Republicans are going to win, take charge, and run the country much better than it's currently being run. We'll check in with Kari Lake, and we've got a John Fetterman update. So holy moly, we've just got a ton to get into, as you can see. Then we are going to check in with the Biden administration because they have been pretty clear that they want to shut down coal plants all across America. This comes at a time when America has a lot of difficulties with energy and gas prices and heating homes and things like that. Joe said that they're going to shut down the coal plants. And then he said that there's going to be no more drilling. Like he said, these like back to back over the weekend. And KJP, Karine Jean Pierre, she is out all over the place with clarification. She's explaining what Joe Biden really meant, which is entirely different than what he said, as usual. We'll check in on some foreign policy issues. You see, we've got Jake hanging out with Zelensky, and he got a nice award for giving him, endless pots of money. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and another Democrat named Pat Ryan apparently was selling a bunch of personal information over to old Pooty Poo. So a lot to get to, my friends. As you can see, there is a lot to attend to today. And if you want to be a part of the program, the best place to do that is over at our amazing community, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. There is a poll over there on locals, and let's see where the poll stands out for us. There was a poll that we posted about whether Trump is announcing tonight, yes or no. Ooh, okay. And so on locals, it's 51% say yes and 49% say no. So 50-50 basically. 51 to 49 over there. And wow, it's pretty tight. We've got Trump announcing on YouTube, 65% say no. President Trump said 11/14. Yeah, that's what he said. Well, we'll see. All right, so we've got an amazing community. If you want to go check it out, shout outs to my friends over there. Bonnie Speck, Dana 36G. We have Cindy 79 in the house, Jason on Blast, and others. All right, and here is the locals poll. I'm dropping it in the chat for everybody. All right, and so let's cue this puppy back up so we can get into the business of the day, because there is a lot of it. And we're going to start off with Donald Trump. Is Donald Trump announcing a run for president tonight in Ohio? JD Vance is set to speak there on the final day, right before a very, very contentious election there, running against Tim Ryan. Some people, like Richard Grenell, who used to work in the Trump administration, are saying, I'd watch that Ohio rally if I were you. It's going to be a good one. And there's a lot of Trump rallies going out there. We're asking ourselves, why this particular rally here, Richard Grenell? What's going on over there? A little curious. Now, when we expand this out, we'll see some other people are talking about this as well. We have Jonathan Swan, who is a journalist. He reported today, November 7th at 8:56 a.m. He says, based on calls and texts all morning, Trump-Vance rally in Ohio will be closely watched by Rs. Speculation has reached a point of absurdity at this point. But many Rs of varying degrees of closeness to Trump are anticipating accelerated announcement based on his recent private comments. Ooh, Jonathan Swan. Yeah. And we have this one from Poobic. Of course, he's on Twitter. He says, yeah, Trump should announce tonight. Yeah, and we've got a lot of different things to think about, right? If he is on the brink of getting indicted, it might be useful to announce before the indictment comes down the pike. Does he know something that we don't know? Is it anything related to that at all? Is it related to the Republican victory that many people are anticipating? We don't know. But a lot of people are saying it may or may not happen tonight. There is more. There was a link that I thought I clipped for us. Let me see if I can find this quickly. I thought I added it before we hopped on the program. But there is some people saying, of course, it's not where I wanted it to be. Is Trump announcing tonight? Here is the exclusive from the Washington Examiner. Trump wants to announce he is running ASAP. Could come as early as Monday today. Report came out from the Washington Examiner. They say several Republican operatives are reportedly on edge amid speculation that Trump will make his announcement official Monday evening. That's tonight, my friends. Confidants close to Trump believe he's chomping at the bit and could expedite his timetable for debuting his comeback bid to Monday night at the rally in Ohio, where he'll be stumping for JD Vance and others. Jonathan Swan is a reporter at Axios. He posted that. We just read through that. Trump has repeatedly teased this over and over and over again. He said he'll probably have to do it again previously. Behind the scenes, some Republicans have prodded Trump to wait until after the midterm so that we can focus on winning the House and the Senate. However, a source familiar with the matter cautioned the Washington Examiner. They said, it's unclear if Trump is going to expedite the timeline. Saying there's a lot of back and forth right now. No one really knows if it's going to happen tonight or if it's going to wait a week or so. Trump himself is the one who wants to do it ASAP. No one knows right now whether it's happening tonight or not. Oh, man. On the brink of our seats here. Over the weekend, Trump took a shot at DeSantis, called him DeSanctimonious. During an event. On Sunday, DeSantis was notably absent from Trump's rally when they were there campaigning for Rubio. and Rick Scott. The election eve rally with Vance is expected to take place 8 p.m. local time at the Dayton International Airport in Vandalia. Very interesting. So we don't know exactly what's going on there. We do know there's a campaign rally taking place tonight, and so we'll see if we want to jump over there to take a look at some of that. But it will be had at 8 p.m. tonight, so we'll check back in. But there were prior rallies. Donald Trump was out over the weekend speaking on behalf of Republican candidates, and there are several clips I wanted to share with you. Here's a scene from a Trump rally that is raining, pouring rain. And here's what the crowd looks like. Let's turn this volume down. I think this is a very loud clip.
And they weren't going to do a thing against us, not a...
So it's pouring rain. Let me fast forward this a little bit. You can see what Trump looks like. And he's got the music playing in the background.
Most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer respected or listened to around the world. We are a nation that in many ways has become a joke. And we are a nation that is hostile, think of it, to liberty, freedom, and faith. We are a nation whose economy is collapsing into a cesspool of ruin, whose supply chain is broken, whose stores are not stocked and whose deliveries are not common, whose educational system is...
Now look at all the people in the background covered in rain. These people are laughing over here. This lady doesn't look like she's feeling too happy about it. Let's take a watch.
At the bottom of every single list. We are a nation where large packs of sadistic criminals and thieves are allowed to go into stores and openly rob them, beat them up, and kill their workers and customers.
All right, so that's Donald Trump. There's another clip of him. Now, here's a different one. Still raining. Here's a little bit closer up. You can see it's very, very rainy out there.
And it is time to start talking about greatness for our country again. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So with the incredible help of everyone here today, we will make America
even in the pouring rain. All sorts of enthusiasm for Donald Trump. Now, you're not seeing a lot of that same activity in other parts of the country. A lot of other rallies are actually not even taking place. We've got people like Katie Hobbs. When she has a rally, they put a bunch of signs in the background to make it look like people are there. Nobody cares. Same thing is happening for many other Democrats. Here's Trump exiting the stage in the rain, and I'm seeing some people over on local saying, hey, it was beautiful out there. It was beautiful out there. We actually needed a little bit of rain over there in Miami. Loved it. Right on, Trump. All right, watch your step. It's wet out there. Goodness. Moves, baby. All right, so the energy is there, of course, and we're all waiting with bated breath to see whether or not he makes an announcement. Now, there's not been a ton of activity on Trump in terms of some of the legal cases. There was something slightly interesting that I wanted to share with you here. We were covering one of Trump's cases, which involved the J6 committee. And remember, you know, Congress is going to be changing power very likely very soon. And if the next Congress is Republican, which many people are expecting it to be, it is very likely that they're not going to want to continue the Inquisition, the MAGA Inquisition that's been taking place for several years now. And that the committee, by virtue of, well, its own creation documents and by virtue of the fact that Congress changes hands, it's sort of set to expire anyways. But there's unlikely to be another fake January 6th illegally constituted select committee out there. And so what has happened in this case, Donald Trump, as the plaintiff, he was suing Benny Thompson. You may remember these. We've talked about several of these cases, but they submitted a joint motion for an extension. Okay, so we call this a continuance in the law, which means in this case, which is Donald Trump versus Benny Thompson on the January 6th Select Committee, they're just agreeing that they're going to postpone this case further out. and that is ultimately, it's going to moot the whole case, right? Because it's going to push it beyond the point at which the J6 committee is going to be constituted. So it's going to evaporate, and then it's going to be moot. There's really no reason for Trump to sue Benny Thompson anymore if there's no J6 committee. And so you see here, pretty brief. This was submitted by both sides. It says a joint motion for a further extension of time to respond to the complaint. The parties in this case jointly request a further extension of time so that Benny Thompson, the defendant, can respond. The court has granted 7 prior extensions of response time. All right. Extension. The party's motion, supported by good cause, the Supreme Court denied the stay. The court denied plaintiffs' petition for certiorari, which means Trump tried to take this up to the Supreme Court and didn't get it there. The parties have continued to confer with respect to the government's rights. The parties have agreed to continue this, saying that the status quo is appropriate until we can determine this next steps. But look, 60 days until January 9th, 2023. Oh, that's when the balance of power is going to be shifting. So the parties are granting this. They're asking the court to grant it, and it's signed off on by the U.S. Department of Justice, which means, it's very likely that this is going to be granted. Both sides agree to it, and it will be postponed. But we'll, of course, continue to follow and see if there's any other litigation that pops up. We will come back. We're going to put a pin in this segment. We're going to come back at 8 p.m. Eastern time and see if there's anything good percolating around at the Trump JD Vance rally. Whether or not he decides to announce is yet to be seen. So we'll check back in on that. We've got the YouTube poll has us at 64% say no. So 64% say no. He's just a big tease. He's not actually going to announce anything. And we'll see. All right. I think that probably is true, I think. But at the same time, it sort of begs the question, like, what does Trump gain from announcing 2 weeks from now? Why would 2 weeks from now be better than today? If he announced today, he could come out and enthuse everybody, right? The Democrats would rush to the polls. The Republicans would rush to the polls. Voter turnout would probably not, it would probably break records, right? On the back of this announcement. And if it works out for Trump, right, if the Republicans have a tremendous victory, maybe he could take credit for that. But if it doesn't work out for him, maybe a sort of a gimmick like that, if you wanted to frame it that way, maybe that would hurt the Republicans because it would enthuse a bunch of Democrats to get up and go to the polls. They say, oh, Trump announced again? Now I'm really angry. So I can see it both ways. Don't really know what's going to happen tonight, but we'll see if we can check back in, time permitting. So Trump announcement, we'll stay tuned on that. We're going to jump into some serious election news and coverage because there's a lot going on here, starting with Elon Musk endorses the Republicans. He posted this on Twitter, causing a lot of people on Twitter to be very agitated over that. Nobody likes when Elon is endorsing Republicans. Everybody wants Elon to kind of just shut up and give them back their platform. And Elon is not backing down. He posted this on Twitter. Elon said on November 7th, "Dear independent-minded voters," he says, "shared power curbs the worst excesses of both parties. Therefore, I recommend voting for a Republican Congress, given that the presidency is Democratic." He says at the bottom, hardcore Democrats or Republicans never vote for the other side. So independent voters, you're the ones who actually decide who's in charge. And so that's a pretty interesting thing from Elon that got 38,000 retweets at the time that I took this screenshot and a lot of likes. And a lot of people are upset with that statement because they are wanting Elon to not take sides or to give them back their platform or to support Democrats like every other big tech bro out there. But we'll get into more of that. We are going to check in with Ronna McDaniel, and we're going to listen to Representative Katie Porter. Representative Katie Porter was on the Jon Stewart show, and Katie Porter said that inflation is a no-brainer. Everybody knows about it. And so we'll check back in with her in a quick minute. But first, my friends, we have an amazing announcement from our sponsor, For Patriots. They tell us that a food shortage could be coming here Even in the United States, experts wrote about this as recently as July. Drought, inflation, even a few new policies that are coming into play could put food supply at a breaking point. That's why survival food is more important now than ever. You can create your own stockpile of the best-selling 4 Patriots survival food kits. You can create your own stockpile. This is not ordinary food, my friends. We're talking about good for 25 years, super survival food. This stuff is hand-packed, family-owned facility right in the United States. It gives jobs to over 200 Americans. These kits are compact, they're sturdy, they're water-resistant, they stack easily. They have different delicious breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. You can make these meals in less than 20 minutes. Boiling water, simmer, and serve this stuff. And right now, you can go to 4patriots.com. You can see it right here on your screen. Use promo code Robert. You can get a 3-month survival kit, which includes their famous guarantee, the 4 Patriots guarantee, that this stuff will last an entire year. You get free shipping on anything over $97. They're called 4 Patriots because a portion of every sale is donated to charities who support our veterans and their families. So I invite you to go to 4patriots.com, use code Robert, get 10% off, 4patriots.com, use code Robert. Start building your stockpile today, my friends. Very important stuff. All right. And so now we can check in with a representative, Katie Porter. Katie Porter is a California representative. She was on with Jon Stewart, and she is having some pushback on this inflation issue. Representative Porter, you're running for office. You need to get reelected again. What's your position on inflation? You know, the number one issue that Americans care about, the thing that people feel in their pocketbooks, the thing that everybody gets punched in the face with every time they walk into a grocery store. What's your take on inflation?
Inflation is always complex. Anyone who says, and this is the Republicans all day long, inflation's bad. No shit, Sherlock.
Whoa.
Of course inflation's bad. I, too, go to the grocery store. So that is not a policy statement, by the way.
Congresswoman, put that in your commercial. That you're allowed to use this footage.
Wow.
This is not paid for by taxpayers. I want to see you right now, Congresswoman Katie Porter. No shit, Sherlock. Let's get this done.
I mean, that's all Republicans have to say, which is inflation is bad. Well, yes, folks, we get that. I just bought Fritos for $4.99. I spent $10 to feed these children Fritos, for crying out loud.
For Fritos. It's very expensive. No S. Sherlock. Wow. Okay. So she knows it. We know it. We've all been asking ourselves, who's responsible for it? Is it the Republican Party? Is it the Democratic Party? Are both of them responsible for it? And who has accelerated the problem this past 2 years? Has it been the Republicans who have not been in charge, or has it been the Democrats who've spent trillions of dollars and then with the stroke of a pen spent hundreds of billions more, waiving student loans, letting the border fall to catastrophe? The list goes on and on. It's a gigantic problem. But this woman, her only real answer is that the Republicans don't have an answer. Well, she's been in charge. She's been responsible for it. And Jon Stewart and her, I guess, are excited about the S word. Dropping the S word. I guess that's going to solve something.
It's always complex. Anyone who says, and this is the Republicans all day long, inflation's bad. No shit, Sherlock.
Well,
of course inflation's bad. I, too, go to the grocery store. So that is not a policy statement, by the way.
Congresswoman, put that in your commercial. That you're allowed to use this.
Yeah, get it. Say the S word. Call the Republicans a bunch of S heads. Yeah, all right. So I guess that's what is happening here. And there's been an interesting, this is an interesting dynamic. We talked about this on our Locals Walk and Talk this morning, where there's a lot of reactions coming out from Democrats of all different stripes and varieties. You've seen some people like Katie Porter. You may have seen the clip from Bill Clinton when he was out sort of mocking crime in New York City. He was saying that, people on subways are not being handed batons by Kathy Hochul, who are not doing the clubbing and the beating out there while people are transporting themselves to work. And it's kind of a jokey, dismissive attitude. And there's been situations like this in the past. I remember when Marco Rubio got very jokey and sort of playful with Donald Trump. He was making fun of his hands, and he was, doing this almost comedy routine to try to do something to adjust the conversation, to adjust the narrative. I'm not so sure that that's going to be effective at this moment in time. I mean, Katie Porter, Bill Clinton, Kathy Hochul sort of laughing at the issue, saying, oh, it's much to do about nothing. Just shut up, okay? Everybody knows what inflation is. No S, Sherlock, right? This is a global thing. I don't think that's going to carry any weight, given the fact that they control both houses and the presidency, but they've been trying it, right? And there's a lot of different attempts that they have undergone to try to claw back or gain some traction in some way, shape, or form, but we haven't seen much of it. Ronna McDaniel is the GOP chairwoman, and she had a very nice line. Republicans get called all sorts of deniers, science deniers, medical misinformation deniers, election deniers, science, the whole list goes on and on. You know the whole litany of them. But Ronna McDaniel says, the reality about this is the Democrats are the real deniers here.
5 days out from an election for the President of the United States to give a speech and not talk about inflation, to actually say it's good, to not talk about gas prices, to say that crime doesn't
I'm not
exist.
here.
So they have become crime deniers,
Yes.
inflation
I'm not here.
deniers,
Okay.
and education deniers.
Ronna,
Denying everything, reality deniers. And we've talked about this on the Legal Mindset conversation when we were over on his channel, that there's almost like there's poll tested lists of issues that give thumbs up or thumbs down to, and the Democrats have taken all of the bad issues and they've tried to sort them into the ones that are most favorable to themselves, but they are missing the only real issues that people care about on their list. Right? It's not inflation, it's not the economy, it's not the border, it's not the things that most Americans care about. Instead, it's J6, insurrection, death of democracy, and like climate change and, rights for, very, very small slivers of society, right? It's a weird dynamic. It's not working out for them so well. We'll see if that changes. But Ronna McDaniel says election deniers, education deniers, crime deniers, and basically all sorts of other reality deniers. So a nice clip from the GOP. We have Stacy Abrams as well, who has a whole sort of library of double standards applied to her. It's a very interesting phenomena that happens with her. Stacy Abrams, Georgia governor candidate, has said that she's down in the polls for very interesting reasons. One of them being that certain individuals, in this case, black males, are more susceptible to misinformation. And I think that means she's saying they're more gullible or they're less capable of discerning reality from fiction. I don't really understand it. It feels very racist and insulting to me. But this is Stacy Abrams, and the media doesn't push back on any of this stuff. In fact, here she is on MSNBC, I guess going to get away with this. Let's listen.
And I do not believe it's because of a deep well of enthusiasm for my opponent. We know that black voters are often discounted. And unfortunately, this year, black men have been a very targeted population for misinformation. Not misinformation about what they want, but about why they want what they deserve. And my campaign has been the only one that has very intentionally, thoughtfully, and consistently reached out. That has been misconstrued as concern, when it indeed is just respect.
It's just respect to help black men who don't know why it is what they want or what they deserve. I don't know what she was actually trying to say there. People don't know why they deserve what they deserve. So the motivations have been supplanted or something. These black males have been manipulated into thinking that something else is good for them. And Stacey Abrams says that she's reaching out to correct that because they're more susceptible to misinformation. It's a strange thing to say. I don't know that that's really appropriate to say, but I guess she's allowed to say it for some reason. I don't. Is that what they talk about over there on MSNBC? Okay, well, strange place. All right, well, we've got several other clips to attend to, and we've got, who's this? Kevin McCarthy's in the house. Kevin McCarthy is very likely going to be the victor after Tuesday night. He is presumed to be the next Speaker of the House. We'll see. GOP House Leader Kevin McCarthy is asked about the attack on Paul Pelosi. Paul Pelosi, of course, is married to Nancy Pelosi, who presumably is going to be the outgoing Speaker of the House if the Republicans are victorious on election night. If the Republicans win, they take over the House. They get to vote on who the next Speaker will be. The next person who's going to handle the gavel after Nancy Pelosi scoots on out of there. It very well may be Kevin McCarthy. We'll see. We'll take opinions on whether he's going to be good or effective but he is sort of in the lead at the moment. And so he's on with CNN. CNN asks Kevin McCarthy, hey, what happened with Paul Pelosi? Who's responsible for this? A lot of people think it's the MAGA extremist Republicans. You know, they are the people who are election deniers and science deniers and reality deniers. It's not us at all. And so if you are leading the GOP, if you're in support of, you know, all of these people, how can you possibly live with yourself knowing that what they did caused the attack on Paul Pelosi to occur?
Speaker, how do you tone down that rhetoric? How are you going to stop that and turn down the temperatures?
Well, the first thing I'll ask the president not to call half the nation idiots or challenge them or say things about them simply because they have differences of opinion. There's a number of people in this country that I have a difference of opinion.
Let me see if I can boost some of this audio here because that is very low audio. We'll play this again.
Speaker, how do you tone down that rhetoric? How are you going to stop that and turn down the temperatures?
Well, the first thing I'll ask the president not to call half the nation idiots or challenge them or say things about them simply because they have differences of opinion.
MAGA extremists who are threatening your economic and national security.
There's a number of people in this country that I have a difference of opinion on. I respect them. I respect their ability to debate. I respect their ideas. Let the idea win at the end of the day. I think leadership matters, and I think it probably starts with the president, and it'll start with the speaker as well.
What about members of your own party who have spread some of these conspiracy theories that have resulted in some of this violence?
Yeah, I've watched people on both sides of the aisle. As Speaker, I'll be the Speaker for the whole House. So it won't be looking at just Republicans. It'll look at Democrats as well. You know, when Maxine Waters tells people to go get in their faces, we've watched this so many times before, and I appreciate you bringing them up too, because as Speaker of the House, I will look at all.
She is claiming that the conspiracy theories, now we don't know exactly what conspiracy theories she's talking about, are responsible for some of the violent attacks that are occurring across the country. Let's take a listen to see which ones she is specifically referencing.
Members of your own party who have...
President, and it'll start with the speaker as well.
What about members of your own party who have spread some of these conspiracy theories that have resulted in some of this violence?
Yeah,
what conspiracy theories and what violence? What is she talking about?
I've watched people on both sides of the aisle. As Speaker, I'll be the Speaker for the whole House. So it won't be looking at just Republicans. It'll look at Democrats as well. You know, when Maxine Waters tells people to go get in their faces, we've watched this so many times before, and I appreciate you bringing them up too, because as Speaker of the House, I will look at all.
All right, so that's Kevin McCarthy. We'll see if he'll actually do anything meaningful. You know, I get so tired of this conspiracy theory stuff. What conspiracy theories is she talking about? Is it the election conversation that we've had? Okay, is this still the J6 thing? Because we're seeing this attempted to be smeared all over everybody who even questions not the prior elections, okay? Not the prior, not making any comments about that. Take it easy, my YouTube censor over there, all right? Not commenting about prior elections. I'm saying that people can have conversations about how elections are run, can't we? We can talk about voter suppression versus voter enfranchisement. We can actually have legitimate debates about what an election full of integrity looks like. Can't we have those conversations? Or are we done with that? Like elections are just over. They're perfect. Nothing has to change ever again, ever? That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just having a conversation about that. That's what Kari Lake is doing. She's having a lot of these conversations. And I don't know how you can correlate what happened to Paul Pelosi back to Kari Lake. Haven't seen how you can make that connection, even though they attempt to do that. In fact, let's jump right over there and see how they are trying to make that connection. This is Gladys Sicknick. You remember Gladys Sicknick? Or maybe you don't. But if you do remember, you know a guy named Brian Sicknick. Brian Sicknick is this individual who died of natural causes after January 6th. I mean, that's the way to put it. He was there on January 6th, and he interacted with the protesters and then died the next day. And if you remember, our lying government and our lying media shoved down all of our gullets that he was murdered by the insurrectionists, when that was not true at all. It was a lie. He was allegedly attacked and hit with blunt objects before dying at the hands of the MAGA protesters before he was later bear sprayed. And it turned out that story was a fiction too. The litany went on with him. It turns out he died of natural causes. Now, they still gave him a state funeral, essentially. I mean, they really did everything that they possibly could to capitalize on this death and exploit his death at the sake of his family. But if we rewind back to where we are today and put this in context, of course, it is election season, and they brought out Gladys Sicknick to continue to exploit her son's death to attack Kari Lake. Let's listen.
I'm Gladys Sicknick. I'm the mother of Brian Sicknick, the Capitol police officer who died defending our country on January 6th. Kari Lake is very dangerous for our country.
All right, so Kari Lake is now the person who's very dangerous for our country. Let's listen to that again.
I'm Gladys Sicknick. I'm the mother of Brian Sicknick, the Capitol police officer who died defending our country on January 6th.
He died defending our country on January 6th. This poor woman. It's not true. Like, look, I'm terribly sorry that her son died. Okay, I'm terribly sorry that he died. It's terrible, right? It's actually terrible, right? I'm sorry that he's not with you, Gladys. I'm sure you're in pain, and I'm sorry about that. I know loss. I've dealt with it. I've worked with people with loss. I know how it is. I'm sorry that you're looking for an answer, but he did not die defending the Capitol on January 6th.
I'm Gladys Sicknick. I'm the mother of Brian Sicknick, the Capitol police officer who died defending our country on January 6th.
All right, so let's just pause on that. We're going to come back to that in a minute because I just have to hit that comment. Here is a story from American Greatness by Julie Kelly. She wrote this a long time ago. This gives us the definitive sort of response. Officer Sicknick died of natural causes, not riot injuries. Another massive lie used to gaslight the American people because of the corrupt garbage media. Washington Post, they said he died of natural causes, not from injuries sustained in the Capitol. The medical examiner, a guy by the name of Francisco J. Diaz, said the autopsy found no evidence that the 42-year-old suffered an allergic reaction to chemical irritants. Okay, that was the bear spray allegation. Previously, I think it was him getting hit in the head with a fire extinguisher, all right, which also never happened, which Diaz said would have caused Sicknick's throat to quickly seize. If it was bear spray, he would have been able to see it, Francisco Diaz said. Diaz also said there was no evidence of internal or external injuries. Didn't get cracked in the head with a fire extinguisher either. 2 men have been arrested charged with using bear spray against Sicknick. The ruling likely will make it difficult for prosecutors to pursue homicide charges in the officer's death. All right, our corrupt DOJ, along with our corrupt media and the corrupt FBI, rotten to the core, have said specifically that they wanted to find somebody who murdered him. And they were going to charge people with it, even though they didn't do it. Sicknick's death became a rallying cry after the New York Times reported on January 8th, 2 days later, that Sicknick had been bludgeoned to death by Trump-supporting insurrectionists using a fire extinguisher. Never happened. The garbage New York Times lied about it. Capitol and D.C. Metro Police organized a somber procession for Sicknick. Democratic leaders invited his family to a rare Capitol memorial attended by congressional leaders, including Joe Biden and his wife. Weeks before Trump's second impeachment trial began. Do you remember this? You remember living through this? But after pushback from a handful of outlets like American Greatness, the Times quietly retracted its initial account because they got what they needed out of it. They were able to smear an entire group of people as murderers of police officers. Perfect. Exactly what they needed. Exactly what they needed. They got this story. The media ran with it. They said, oh, no, it wasn't a fire extinguisher in the head. It was an allergic reaction to bear spray. We covered all this, right? The story kept changing. The Times even published a lengthy article with a video showing how Sicknick allegedly died from bear spray. Falsehood was repeated by every single Democratic politician, every news outlet, and even Republican lawmakers, losers. It's impossible to measure how many impressions it got. And you talk about spreading disinformation. Okay, it's a literal lie that was included in the House Democrats' impeachment trial memo, which we also read through here on this channel. Every law enforcement agency from the Capitol Police to the DOJ claims Sicknick died from injuries inflicted by the protesters. All lies. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family and the fellow officers who succumbed last night to the injuries he suffered defending the U.S. Capitol against the violent mob who stormed it on January 6th. Who said that? Acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen said it in a statement. Liar, liar. His death was also part of a bigger fabrication related to J6. 5 people died because of the violence. The only person killed was Ashley Babbitt, obviously. Outrageously, the DC Medical Examiner's Office, in an email to American Greatness, continues to perpetuate the now debunked trope. It says the District of Columbia issued determinations on the matter of death. 2 men died of heart failure. 1 woman died of a drug overdose. Another massive lie going on, right? No resignations, no retractions, no apologies. Everybody continues to promote that gigantic lie, including to the mother, Gladys Sicknick. Now, with all of that in context, right? Now we think about all of that in context, it's kind of a little bit understanding, right? Why Gladys Sicknick might think this actually is true. She probably does think this, right? That a bunch of MAGA insurrectionists killed her son, because that's what everybody reported for months. And they said, hey, Gladys, you hate Kari Lake, right? You think Kari Lake's kind of a danger? Well, why don't you come out and make this video? It's about your son because people like her murdered him. Why don't you come out and give us a statement about that?
I'm Gladys Sicknick. I'm the mother of Brian Sicknick, the Capitol Police officer who died defending our country on January 6th. Kari Lake is very dangerous for our country. She saw what happened on January 6th and continues to spread the big lie. And we're going to have more violence because people, they believe whatever she says. It's very dire for our democracy, for our country, with candidates like Kari Lake. My son died because of people like Kari Lake.
Wow. Wow. My son died because of people like Kari Lake, even though her son died of natural causes. So how does that work? If her son died of natural causes, did he get bad genes from Kari Lake or something? Did he catch COVID from her or something? I don't know. I feel bad for Gladys Sicknick. I feel terrible that she's being exploited by these rotten cretins who would use the memory of her son for political gain and badger this nice lady into taking the memory of her son and cramming it into a 30-second lie of a political commercial to go attack Kari Lake, who never met Brian Sicknick, as far as we know, who had nothing to do with anything, wasn't even there, and has repeatedly said that she's got questions about the election. She's responsible for his death. Okay, that's what we're dealing with out there, my friends. That's the media. That's the disgusting Democratic Party taking advantage of a mother who lost her son. Now, you can see that Kari Lake, of course, is not going to let that stuff go without a response. This is Kari Lake responding to the big lie that's been proffered by the Democrats, saying that Kari Lake is responsible for the death of Brian Sicknick, the Capitol Hill police officer who died the day after the January 6th protests of natural causes. Gladys Sicknick said Kari Lake's responsible for his death. Kari Lake responds.
You've seen this ad attacking you.
Which one? Which one? Which one, Chris?
The mother of Brian Sicknick, the Capitol Police officer that died the day after January 6th. She, in an attack ad, is saying that people like you specifically are responsible for her son's death. I'm curious what you think when you hear that.
What's her name?
The mother of Brian Sicknick?
Yeah.
I think it's Cindy Sicknick.
Cindy, I just want to say to Cindy Sicknick, I'm so sorry about the death of your son. It is tragic. I'm a mother myself, and that is, it breaks my heart. That is a wound when you lose a child, no matter how old they are, that never heals. And so I don't want to disparage her. She doesn't know me. I wasn't anywhere near the Capitol on January 6th. And I understand that her son died, I think, the following day of a stroke or natural causes. And I feel for her, and I see the pain in her eyes. And I would never try to disparage or hurt her, because I know when a mother has pain like that, there's no way to heal that. And that's why I feel for these moms and dads who hit me up on the campaign trail and they grab me. And you can spot them from across the room. There is a loss in their lives that can never be replaced. And we're losing thousands of young people. When they tell me they lost a son to fentanyl, when they lost a daughter to fentanyl poisoning. This is why we are pushing so hard to secure that border and stop fentanyl from pouring across. I'm used to attack ads. I've had probably more money spent against me than any candidate in Arizona in attack ads, but the people know me here. They're not believing what they're seeing in the attack ads. I've been in their homes for 27 years. And additionally, besides attack ads, I've had 100% negative lying coverage by the fake news of me and my campaign and our people. And so we've withstood that, and we will win, and we're going to do great things for Arizona despite what you guys say.
Amazing. How can you even compete with that? Very professional, very diplomatic answer from Kari Lake saying, look, I understand mothers losing people are going to be grieving. If she wants to take her pain out on me, all right, that's fine. I can take it. I'm used to taking that. Well, the problem is we have a lot of people necessarily, and I'm going to do everything I can to stop that from happening. Outstanding response. And I agree with her completely. I think it is completely inappropriate what they're doing by trying to exploit Brian Sicknick's memory for their own personal political gain. It feels gross for them to do it, but they continue to do it. Kari Lake just says, well, I'm okay with that. I understand she's in pain. We're going to solve the problem anyway. Our next governor here in the great state of Arizona, we're looking forward to seeing her succeed nicely as the election nears. To try to stop Kari Lake, they brought out Barack Obama. He came to Arizona, and he's been sort of whipping up a frenzy trying to get people to go and remove her from office. And Kari Lake responds when asked about Obama criticizing her, saying that she's a danger to democracy and that if you dare vote for Kari Lake, you're voting for the end of America. Kari Lake responds,
what would be your retort to Barack Obama standing on stage with a convicted racist of which some of your tax dollars went to pay for her racism? What would be your retort if you were in an elevator, let's say, and Obama walked in and you got a chance to tell him what you thought? What would you say?
Oh, boy, I'd have so many things to say to him. I think I would tell him that it verifies. I was so disappointed in him when he didn't work to bring us together. He had a real opportunity as a president, and I'm just disappointed as an American. Being the first Black president, he didn't do more to bring us together. He actually divided us even further. And then it doesn't really surprise me that he would come to town and stump for a racist after that. After
Katie
the way
Hobbs.
He led. I'm just disappointed with him. He's old news, and I don't think that he is drawing the crowds he used to draw. I think a lot of people who voted for him woke up to the fact that he's really a fraud. And I don't care what he says about Katie Hobbs. We know he's just in it to protect his legacy, which is pretty despicable. I mean, remember the Fast and Furious case that really went down here in Arizona, resulting in the death of 2 Border Patrol agents? His legacy is not good, and he's trying to have a little bit more influence, and I think he knows he's losing his influence. We draw bigger crowds than what he drew last night.
Oh, we drew bigger crowds than you, Barack Obama. You're old news. You can come out here and stump around and tell us, inflation's the Republicans' fault, the border's the Republicans' fault, the crime's the Republicans' fault, all that stuff, but nobody's buying it. We've got bigger crowds than you. You're old news, buddy boy. It's Kari Lake time now. And we're excited to see what comes of that. Now, there was an incident over the weekend where Kari Lake had some white powder delivered to her campaign office. And we talked about that on the Legal Mindset show last night. So if you missed that, certainly go check that out. But it is now heating up in Arizona. And people are wondering where Katie Hobbs is. Katie Hobbs running against Kari Lake, the juggernaut, doesn't seem like she has a chance at all. In fact, CNN even doubts her. They say, hey, Katie Hobbs, you're running against Kari Lake. You might want to debate her. Why haven't you done that? The election's right around the corner.
Why not debate your opponent? If you believe your opponent has issues and is spreading conspiracy theories about a stolen election and so on, and is not being truthful with the people of Arizona, why then not get on the debate stage and debate her?
Not only is Kari Lake, has she centered her entire platform around this election denialism, I didn't want to give her a bigger stage to do that.
She's already got a big one, Katie. You're not going to give her a bigger stage, okay? She's getting millions of views on Twitter That last clip that we just played had 1 million views. People want to hear from you if you're really the alternative.
She has shown that she's not interested in having any kind of substantive conversation. She's only interested in creating a spectacle.
But
and I didn't
if
want to
you
be
were in the same space with her, wouldn't it be easier to knock it down in front of everyone, in front of the most people? Because you're not stopping her from spreading whatever you believe that she is spreading.
Great question from Don Lemon. That move to the morning show, the lights are a little bit brighter. You see the sun coming up in the city background. Everybody's a little bit more carefree today. He's got better ideas now. He's got better questions. If she's such a conspiracy theorist, wouldn't it be nice to just give her the old backhand out there from the stage and just say, hey, you're an election denier, liar. Why don't you just, tell her to her face?
By not debating her, she can go on television, she can talk about it, she can go in front of the people of Arizona every single day and talk about it, but you're not confronting her on it. And it seems like it would be an easy fix if you stood up on a debate stage and confronted her about these issues.
Look, we're 6 days out from the election, and our campaign strategy is our campaign strategy. So we're moving forward. I'm continuing to make my case to the voters of Arizona. Whether or not we debated in this race is not going to decide this election. So, we made the decision, didn't want to be a part of her spectacle, and she's not, she won't answer these tough questions.
What are you talking about?
To real reporters. She only talks to fake
But
news
Secretary, it's not just her that you won't debate. You also did not debate your Democratic primary opponent, Marco Lopez. Why? And have you ever?
That's 2 for 2.
Have you
I
ever?
was miles ahead of him. I was miles ahead of him in the race and won handily. It's a totally different situation here.
So she doesn't have to debate her primary opponents because she's whopping their butts. And she also doesn't have to debate Kari Lake when she's getting her butt whopped. Very strange. She just doesn't have to debate ever.
Well, it's not debating your opponent again. Have you ever debated your opponent running for political office?
Yes, I have.
Why do you think it wasn't important for people to see a debate in this election for governor at all?
In the primary, I was focused on the general election. I was miles ahead of my opponent. I won handily. It wasn't an issue. We're 6 days from the election, and this is the decision we made. So.
And it's not a good decision, Katie Hobbs. You're down by like 10 points in the polls, right? Not working out so hot for you. But boy, oh boy, CNN asking her some pretty hard questions on that. You didn't debate your primary opponent either. Why not? Oh, have you ever debated anybody ever before, Katie? Hello? You are a politician. Yeah, I did at some point in high school. I was on the debate team and we had a mock debate assembly one year. Okay, so that's Katie Hobbs. Now, Katie Hobbs was the person who responded to a alleged attack at her campaign headquarters. And it turns out the individual who apparently broke in is an illegal immigrant. Here's the story. The suspect in Arizona candidate Katie Hobbs, that's just who we listened to. The campaign burglary was completed by an illegal immigrant wanted by ICE, evidently. So after she was pressed on the debate, she was asked about the suspect who broke into her campaign headquarters. There was an attempted burglary of the Arizona gubernatorial candidate Katie Hobbs' campaign office. The person who did it is from Portugal. Illegal immigrant. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement confirmed to Fox that 36-year-old Daniel Mota dos Reis is a citizen of Portugal, came to U.S. registered in 2018, now violating the terms of his admission. And that's Katie Hobbs. It's her campaign office. Hobbs' office first announced the burglary in October, and they said that the crime was attributed to, quote, dangerous misinformation spread by her opponent. It was all Kari Lake's fault, remember? She said, let's be clear, for nearly 2 years, Kari Lake and her allies have been spreading dangerous misinformation, and they've been inciting threats against anyone they see fit. The threats against Arizonans attempting to exercise their constitutional rights are concerning. But the police have said there's no political motivation. No, it's just some guy from Portugal who wanted to break into her residence. The suspect was in jail, but was scheduled to be released. Authorities said that the officer contacted the jail, was able to rearrest him, who was charged with 1 count, third-degree burglary for breaking into the headquarters. So just amazing there. So Katie Hobbs is still continuing to struggle, it seems. But the election is, of course, tomorrow. So we'll see how that works out for her. We've got one final sort of clip on some election update stuff here. And this is John Fetterman. John Fetterman is continuing to say he's capable of serving in office. In fact, here's a short clip when he was on CBS News talking about that very specific thing. They're saying, hey, are you fit to serve? And I think he says yes, or he says I'm sit to serve. I don't know, but this is what it looked like.
And I'm sitting within a chair with you right now to have this conversation to really just address the fact that I'm absolutely sit to serve.
Sit to serve? Is that what he said?
Just address the fact that I'm absolutely sit to serve.
I don't know what he said. All right, so that was something. Now, there was another clip that came here. This one's a lot more interesting. And it's kind of an ominous thing that happened. John Fetterman is running for Senate in Pennsylvania, and there was an ominous wind, a gust on the day of his speech. Watch these American flags. Tell them what they think about him during his oration.
Today, Dr. Oz is going to be standing with Donald Trump on the stage.
The audio's very quiet on a lot of these clips today. I don't know why, but we'll figure that out.
Today, Dr. Oz is going to be standing with Donald Trump on the stage. And I'm going to be proud to be standing with a president that is 100% sedition-free.
Oh, man.
I'm right.
America. That sucks. All the flags. Did he even notice? Oh, man.
Today, Dr. Oz is going to be standing with Donald Trump on the stage. And I'm going to be proud to be standing with a president that is 100% sedition-free. I'm right.
Not good. Not a good sign for your campaign. When you're out there preaching for America and then all of the flags evaporate behind you, it's not a good deal. So kind of an ominous sign for John Fetterman. We'll see how that plays out for him in the campaign, but it is coming down to the wire there in Pennsylvania. And of course, we'll continue to follow that as well. All right, my friends, let's change over to the Biden administration a little bit because they're talking about shutting down coal plants. And this is going to be, I think, a big deal in these elections as people are finally making their decisions. Biden and the White House, they just keep, I think, stepping in it. Biden promises to shut down coal plants. John Kerry supports him. Karine Jean Pierre has no idea how to explain it away. We're on the verge of an election, and Joe Biden is saying that one of the most key issues for many people in states like Pennsylvania is going away. I don't care about your coal. We're all going to evaporate it shortly. Joe Biden made this statement when he was out giving speeches over the weekend. In front of a crowd, the president acknowledges that coal plants have been shut down across America. They're going to continue to be shut down across America, whether you like it or not, because green energy is all they care about now.
I was in Massachusetts about a month ago on the site of the largest old coal plant in America. Guess what? It costs them too much money. They can't count. No one's building new coal plants because they can't rely on it, even if they have all the coal guaranteed for the rest of the existence of the plant. So it's going to become a wind generation. And all they're doing is going to save them a hell of a lot of money and using the same transmission line they transmitted the coal-fired electric on. We're going to be shutting these plants down all across America.
We're going to be shutting these plants down all across America. That's Joe Biden, our president, mumbling through a litany of reasons before finally getting to that end statement that we're going to be shutting down coal plants all across America. And that obviously is not a good thing for people in places like Pennsylvania who kind of rely on this resource. It's not good for other Americans who want, I don't know, energy independence, people who want to heat their homes, be able to energize their lives so that they can afford to live, right? It's something that we all need. Now, Biden confirmed that if there was any doubt about what Biden was saying here, it's all going to be put to bed, because he said in another statement, he's told another woman, absolutely no more drilling. And so we're going to get to that clip in a minute. But first, we have a statement from our sponsor here today. And my friends, I've got an announcement for you. If you have an IRA, a 401k, or a savings account, you know as well as I do, things are scary out there. The Biden administration has already printed more money in the past 2 years than the previous 100 years combined. The national debt hit a record $30 trillion. Inflation is the highest we've seen since 1982. It's only a matter of time before the house of cards comes crashing down. If you have retirement savings, your money could be at serious risk. And so talk to my friends at Goldco. You see it right here on the screen to see how you can protect your retirement with gold and silver before it's too late. Go to robertlikesgold.com. They'll give you $10,000 or more free silver if you open up a qualifying account. That's robertlikesgold.com. Goldco has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Great company. And you can go over there to robertlikesgold.com. You see it on your screen. Thank you for supporting your sponsors, the sponsors of this show. I'm very grateful for them and for your support of them. All right, my friends. And so let's get back into the clip here. If there was any doubt about Joe Biden wanting to evaporate coal and eliminate it from the American infrastructure, that can go to bed. Biden was out over the weekend explaining that there is no more drilling. A woman in the crowd, if you listen very closely at the end of his speech, says, "Hey, Mr. President, what about drilling? What about the energy crisis? What about global warming? Are you going to continue to wreck our planet?" Joe Biden mouths to her at the end, "We're not doing any of that. You can sleep soundly."
And there's nothing beyond our capacity if we work together. So vote. Get out the vote now. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No more drilling. There is no more drilling. I haven't formed any new drilling. No,
She says in the background, you can probably hear this closely, something like you authorize 5 more years of offshore drilling.
New drilling. No, that was before I was president. We're trying to work on that, get that done. Thank you.
That was before I was president. Let's see if we can tease out what she's saying there in the background.
No, that was before I was president. We're trying to work on that, get that done. Thank you.
Before I was president, but no more drilling. Okay, so we've seen those 2 statements back to back over the weekend. Pretty unequivocal. Biden has 2 statements. First of all, we're going to shut down the coal power plants. Got that. And no more drilling. And by the way, the drilling that had already been in place, that was done before he was president, and we're working on that. So we're going to get rid of that soon enough. Now, it's not just the president, okay? This is something that has existed across the entire administration. Many people in the Biden administration are working to eliminate coal. Joe Biden himself, of course, has said this many times, but Karine Jean Pierre has tried to walk this back, especially in election season. This is John Kerry, who works in the Biden administration, confirming to the world that coal is going to be gone from the United States very, very soon.
By 2030 in the United States, we will not have coal plants.
2030.
By 2035, President Biden has set a target that we will be, in our power sector, carbon-free.
Carbon-free by 2035? 2030 is when coal is gone.
We will not have coal plants. By 2035, President Biden has set a target that we will be, in our power sector, carbon-free.
Carbon-free. No carbon. 2035. Pretty fast timetable there. Very interesting how that's going to work out for all the people who work in these sectors. So Biden says it. John Kerry, who has a little bit more cognitive powers, is out there implementing all of this stuff. So it's actually taking place. And we're asking ourselves if this is reality. We've got the White House responding to these statements. Karine Jean Pierre tries to walk back President Biden's statements on coal. He said it's all going bye-bye. Doesn't care about Pennsylvania or any other states. It's got to go because climate change is the most important thing to him and this administration. Unfortunately, that doesn't sit well with many Americans. And so the White House has to walk that back like they regularly do most times after Biden speaks. This is Karine Jean Pierre trying to do that.
Very lengthy.
Let's turn this volume. We've got some
Saturday statement.
Interesting audio today. Let's play this one.
You clarifying the president's remarks from the day prior. Can you walk through what the genesis of that was and whether or not you guys thought that perhaps it would be politically problematic had those statements been allowed to stand?
Let me restate the question because it's low. He says, what was the backdrop for that statement that you're going to ban coal, that you're shutting down the coal plants? Is this part of a new policy? Have you detailed this out anywhere before? And did you consider the political implications of this, given the fact that you said that a few days before a very important midterm cycle?
We just wanted to be, you're talking about so we just wanted to be very clear on that, which is why we put out a statement. It seemed like there was some confusion on that. And so, I want to say this. It was, some of you were there. It was loud and hard to hear, I think, or maybe not exactly what was being said. But I currently don't want to get into punditry from here and why we did it or do it or paid or did it on TV. But I spoke to this over the weekend. The president's words, we believe, were twisted.
Twisted? He said it pretty clearly. He said, we want to shut down coal power plants. And there's not going to be any more drilling. And the drilling that's already underway, that was from the prior president, and we're working on shutting that down. So it's pretty clear to me as far as I could tell, but I'm not real sure what she's talking about. Now, the media didn't let that stand, obviously, because she said that they are twisting it. If the media took his statements and they published it, and they're unhappy with how it was published, then it sort of feels like they are manipulating reality. Let's listen to what she said. Now, if the twisting is happening from the journalists, then the journalists are to blame, right? It's not President Biden. Biden made a great statement. He stands by the statement. It was clear. It was unequivocal. There was only 35 marbles in his mouth at that time, not the normal 45. They actually took out 10 marbles so that he could utter out a sentence unequivocal as day. So I don't know what the problem is. You guys twisted it. And the media asks her again about this. Are you sure, Karine? Let me ask you again.
You mentioned about the president's statement or what the president said on Saturday regarding coal. You mentioned a couple times or repeated a couple times today that those words were twisted. So who twisted them? Did Manchin twist them? Did someone else twist them?
Who twisted the words, Karine? You said that the words were twisted. Was it Manchin? Was it the Republicans? Was it the media? Are you pointing your finger at us, you little jerk?
It's how it was reported out.
Being
twisted.
Yeah, reporting.
And I want to be really clear.
How it was reported. The media twisted it. So she's specifically saying, you jerks, you twisted it up for us.
Because this is important. If you read the full transcript, the president was very clear, commenting on a fact of economics and technology, as it has been from its earliest days as an energy superpower. America is once again in the midst of an energy transition, and the president is determined to make sure that this transition helps all Americans, and he's been very clear about that. And these weren't some novel comments as they were taken and twisted to be. The president has talked for years about this energy transition and the need to support coal communities through it. And so it was twisted by many others. And so we wanted to make sure that there was some clarity.
Clarity about Biden's statements, which I thought were pretty clear. I'm not sure that they were mistaken in any way. I mean, it seemed like he said we're shutting down coal plants. The coal plants, it's okay, shutting that down. All right. So that's Karine Jean Pierre. He meant what I say he meant, whether he said something differently or not. That's our press secretary speaking for our poor president. Now, things are pretty bad at the White House. This clip came from somebody who does press there. And it's a 10-second clip, super short, but I want you to listen to the background on this. Okay. It sounds like, I don't know what's going on back there. You know, we do morning walk and talks here for members where we are walking around. Oftentimes there's leaf blowers. Oftentimes there's lawn mowers. And sometimes there's wood chippers out there where they're actually putting things in wood chippers. Now, I think things are so bad at the White House that they might actually be using wood chippers. This is Press Secretary Kate, and she's delivering a message in front of the White House, and it sounds like things have gotten pretty bad out there. Heavy machinery, interns or somebody or something, maybe boxes, might be going into wood chippers based on the sound that we hear. Things are looking pretty dreary there.
Well, look, Jim, you're right. Historically, first midterm for a president can be challenging. But look, across the board, what we're seeing is enormous popularity for the Biden agenda.
What's going on back there? It sounds like there's wood chippers back there.
Well, look, Jim, you're right. Historically, first midterm for a president can be challenging. But look, across the board, what we're seeing is enormous popularity for the Biden agenda.
No, there is no popularity for the Biden agenda. That's probably what they're throwing into the wood chipper with the rest of the administration because it's not working well. And that is Kate telling us that it is working well. Everybody loves the Biden agenda, even though nobody is voting for it. Ugh, yikes. So they're having a tough time over there. They're now doing press stings in front of heavy equipment outside on the lawn of the White House. But all right. So we're going to poke around. Before we are really flying through this show. Boy, I thought it was going to take a lot longer than this. So yeah, we've got a couple more segments before we're going to turn it over to you, my friends, and see what else you have to say about this while we await a possible Trump appearance or announcement even at the JD Vance speech here in a minute. But let's check in with what's going on in the Biden administration internationally. We had a very lovely stream with our friend Legal Mindset. Legal Mindset is in South Korea, is my understanding. And there was an interesting development from our Secretary of State. I'm sorry, from our Secretary of Defense. This is Lloyd Austin. He's talking about U.S.-South Korean relationships. He says at the time of this heightened tension, as the North Koreans are causing a bunch of ruckus over there for our good friends in South Korea, he says our alliance is ironclad. He says our country, the United States, remains fully committed to the defense of the Republic of Korea, and our extended deterrence commitment is firm. This doesn't sound good. This is Secretary Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, communicating that he stands by the South Koreans.
An outstanding discussion today. We talked about the DPRK's continued provocations and destabilizing actions. And at this time of heightened tension, our alliance is ironclad.
Okay.
The United States remains fully committed to the defense of the ROK, and our extended deterrence commitment is firm. Now, Minister Lee and I...
Yikes. So that doesn't sound all that good. If the U.S. commitment is, well, at least from this administration, has any evidence in history, it's not really that strong. I mean, I remember some time ago, this guy was sharing with us the plans to stop the Russians from invading Ukraine. I remember some time ago, this guy was helping us through the Afghanistan departure. And now they're making promises to the South Koreans, which means I hope things work out over there, all right, better than they have worked out previously. Meanwhile, over in Ukraine, very interesting little bromance taking place here between Jake Sullivan and Zelensky. The Biden administration national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, shaking hands with Zelensky, getting a very nice award for his service in giving gobs of money over to Ukraine in a never-ending fashion.
How are you? Thank you so much. Don't worry now. I'm slow.
Beautiful music.
Vice Yaroslav Lloyd, second class, is promoted to Sergeant Jacob, National Security Advisor to the President of the United States.
Wow. Thank you, Jake. Yeah. Wow. Wow. So that right there, that's worth 1 billion, 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion right there. That card, you know, the card looks nice, but it's probably only like 500 million. Wow. Actually, that card is embossed, as you can see. So it's probably like 750 million. So 1, 2, 3.75 billion. Beautiful. Oh, she gets one too? Oh, hers is smaller. Oh, she says, yeah, whatever. All right, look, what are you giving me, like the hand-me-down? Okay, so half a billion. So about 4.75 billion if you add it all up. A lot of money, but that's nice. That's nice. Jake Sullivan got some very nice awards for his tremendous service, giving billions of dollars to World War III. Love that. All right, we've got one final clip here today. An individual goes by the name of Pat Ryan was at a very interesting debate here out of the 18th Congressional District, and they're asked about Putin and selling American resources and information over to the Russians. Very spicy question that came out, and a very interesting answer.
Each of you can now direct one question to your opponent. I should say an additional question to your opponent. You'll each get 1 minute to respond to that question, and Colin Schmidt, you're going to go first.
Thank you. Pat, you were a senior executive at Data Miner, a company that, according to your own personal financial disclosures, you made over $325,000 a year at. The U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee has found, when you were a senior executive of that company, that your company mined Americans' personal information from social media and sold that information to a Russian company that was founded and funded by Vladimir Putin personally to, according to the Washington Post, attack the West and democratic ideals. Pat, with what Vladimir Putin is doing in Ukraine and his consistent cyber attacks and attacks on American institutions, do you now regret selling our data to Putin?
Pat Ryan.
My opponent continues to pump this complete distruth out there. Look, let's be clear. There's one person on this stage who has, both in combat and in Congress, stood against authoritarians and dictators, from Saddam Hussein to Vladimir Putin. One of the votes I'm most proud of
comes back to that money
Congress in my first few weeks was providing additional funding to brave Ukrainian resistance, fighting for their lives, fighting for their democratic values against the authoritarian regime of Putin. And what's most concerning to me is no Republicans voted for that support, and most of the Republican Party of today's time seems increasingly pro-Putin, if anything.
Oh.
You get a question now for Assemblyman Schmidt.
Great.
So you don't regret it then? You don't regret working for the company where you gleaned a bunch of information off of Americans and then shoved it down the gullets of the Russians? But you did fund the Ukrainians, so he's feeling very happy about that. But all right, my friends, and so that's what we had for the segments. Now, we still have a lot of election coverage to get to, obviously. The show wrapped up a little bit earlier than I thought. I thought those clips were going to take a little bit more time to get to. But we've got a lot of questions I know that are percolating around. I saw some super chats come in, and one of the first ones that I saw come in was questions about Walker. And so I pulled up some clips about Herschel Walker, and I saw that one come in. Where'd that go? Here, from Kat Yar, brought this one, says, not sure if I missed it, but what do you think of the Warnock-Walker race in Georgia? And so let's take a quick look at actually what's going on in that race. Pulled up some stuff here. You can see we've got the Walker race is looking very interesting. It's narrowing, but they're both sort of on an upswing right now. So Walker is at 48 points up, Warnock 47.4. This is Real Clear Politics as of yesterday, November 6th. So, man, that is neck and neck. It's very, very close. And what I think is going to be interesting in a lot of these is the litigation after the fact, right? If these things are close, like I got to be honest, I don't know what the margin of error is on all of these different states. Like how much do they have to win by? What is an automatic recount? Are these people going to be litigating, yes or no? There's a lot of questions about a lot of that. But let's see if we can check in and see what they are talking about out there. We've got, here is Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker was on Fox News. He's talking about the Keystone Pipeline and whether or not it's a danger to America to not have gasoline. Here,
that's a threat.
Let's pull that one up. Where'd that one go?
That's a biggest threat to democracy there, and also putting men and women.
Feeling now, 48 hours away.
Well, I feel pretty good. When you have a president talking about the biggest threat to democracy is seen to be electing a Republican, but I want everyone out there that's listening to me, the biggest threat to democracy is to have him at the White House. And the biggest threat to democracy is to have someone like Senator Warnock to vote against our Keystone Pipeline, which put us in an international threat. I think right now that's a threat, and that's a security threat with going to our enemies to ask for energy. That's a threat. That's a biggest threat to democracy there. And also putting men and women's sports, which he voted for that. The biggest threat to democracy is to have the Democrats right now leading this country, because they seem to be taking this country in the wrong direction. And I think America sees that and they know that.
Feeling now.
So Keystone Pipeline, I think obviously is an energy issue, which I would agree with is a pretty big national security concern. If you don't have gasoline, you don't have any big problem. And you can see how this is playing out in Europe, right? There are serious concerns that Germany is not even going to be able to heat itself over the winter because of what they have sort of buried themselves in terms of trying to shift over to green energy without having anything actually sustainable to supply them with resources. And now everybody's scrambling to figure that out. On the flip side, we have Senator Warnock. He says he thinks that Herschel Walker thinks he's a police officer, that he's an FBI agent. And let's listen to him. Let's see what he has to say.
That has 800 employees, it only has 8. He's pretty good at making up things. And now he wants to get the rest of us to imagine with him that he is of the timber to be a United States Senator. Herschel Walker is neither ready nor fit to represent the people of Georgia in the United States Senate.
Yeah, that's Raphael Warnock. And so they're just kind of exchanging barbs is what it seems like at the moment.
As I think about it.
And I'm not sure how consequential a lot of that's going to be, obviously. There's another poll that I just saw came out here. This one was wrapping up through, I saw this from the Trafalgar group, although this one seems like it ended in October. So this one was just published. The Trafalgar group came out. Do you feel like people are afraid to express their opinions about who to vote for in the 2022 midterm elections? Yeah, right. So a big question. Guys like Nate Silver right now are asking whether or not there is accuracy in the polls. So let me pull that up. I saw a 538 article. The 3 big questions that Nate Silver still has about elections. Now, right, a big question that came up yesterday when we were talking with Legal Mindset, Fair and Balanced, and the whole crew over there was whether the polls were accurate or not, whether they were collapsing down because they are trying to save face, whether the polls are actually narrowing up. We don't know. 538, I think, is in a little bit of cope mode today, or they're still trying to come up with a way out for many Democrats, right? There's a lot of doom and gloom out there, and so they're trying to give some good news. Nate Silver is allegedly a reputable pollster. He posted this November 7th. He says there are still 3 big questions I have about Election Day, right? It sort of feels like cope to me, but he's trying to give people a little bit of hope. Let's see. He says, with less than 24 hours to go until we freeze our model, we're probably not going to see a lot more changes in the top line forecast. Republicans have a 54% chance of winning the Senate, 83% chance in the House, according to our deluxe forecast. Those numbers have been relatively steady the last few days. So he says, let's ask another question. It's not questions like how much will abortion matter, he says, which I hope we're doing a good job addressing. But instead, he asks, will the polls be systematically wrong, right? And this is a great question. I have a big question about this. Is it systematically wrong, or are they, even intentionally wrong? Like, are they trying to create, as we talked about, sort of a bandwagon effect where people who are early voting feel like they are joining the winning team, and then the numbers start crashing in together as the margins get closer? So, like, for example, here's the example out of Georgia, Walker and Warnock, right? You see kind of in October, when a lot of the voting's taking place, a lot of the early voting, right, is all in this month. You see the polls. Look at this big gap here. All through September and October, the polls just sort of separate before they come back together. And so it's while everybody's filling out their mail-in ballots, Warnock, Walker's a loser, right? And then they start to narrow up as the election nears, because they have to have some credibility and save face. And so Nate Silver says, could all of this be wrong? Is that what he's asking, or is that a possibility? Is essentially what he's asking. We've covered this topic, but I've got a lot to say about it. It is the whole ball game. He says it really is the whole ball game. It's the only thing that matters, whether the polls are right or not. At least when it comes to which party keeps control of the Senate, if the Republicans beat their polling averages by, say, 3 percentage points across the board, it would be very unlikely for Democrats to salvage the Senate, even if there's some state-to-state variation. Perhaps they could hold on in Arizona and New Hampshire, but they'd be considerable underdogs in Nevada, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, where they need to win 2 out of the 3, right? So it's not looking good for them, in other words. Likewise, if Democrats beat their polls by 3 points across the board, the picture is very rosy for them. So if all the polls shift 3 points in favor of the Democrats, great. If all of them shift in favor of the Republicans, great. It's like, wow, this is really, really amazing analysis. Thank you. You're a pollster. In that event, they'd be favorites to win Nevada, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. Arizona, New Hampshire would probably be out of reach for the Republicans. Yeah, because the Democrats would be up by 3. Got it. Okay, which type of polling error is more likely now? If you've been following these updates, you've noticed me wrestling back and forth. He says, I take the model that we create as gospel. For what it's worth, I've mostly landed on trust the process. He says the polls, though, could very well be biased against Republicans again, right? That's sort of like the worst possibility for them. Why? The best reason to think so is the Nathan Red argument that as polling gets more difficult, you should put more faith in fundamentals. Usually the president's party has a rough midterm, especially when the president has a 42% approval rating and inflation is at 8.2%. Yikes. And that approval rating is from 538. How popular is Joe? There it is right there. 41% approve, 53.4% disapprove. Now, I was wondering if they had that. Yeah, there it is. So they had that juxtaposed with the other presidents. Okay, so here you can see related to Donald Trump, they say he's right about the same level as Trump. Now, I've seen other polls on this that say it's not even close. That this is sort of, I've seen others where Trump is actually, higher than this. Trump's numbers were estimated higher approvals for some people, but you can see related to Barack Obama, he's way under Barack Obama. Well, not way under, 3 percentage points. So Joe Biden's just having a tough time, right? Out there. So it could be that all the polls are bad. Presidents usually have bad outcomes, but it's not hard to imagine how the polls could be biased against Democrats. And that's something that is sort of a surprise. Democrats say, like people like Stacy Abrams, that Republicans are flooding the zone. But he says we're a long ways away from knowing the answer. Obviously, that's going to come in tomorrow, and we'll know more then. But if you take a look at this, what did we just pull up? Well, I can't find it right now. Start closing out some of these tabs. But that's what we've got going on in Georgia. Now let's see what the comments are, see if you guys have any questions or thoughts or anything else to talk about here, because we've got a little bit of time until
her son died.
Oh, that's Kari Lake. We had a little bit of time until we checked in with what's going on over at the Trump show taking place in Ohio soon enough. And so I think maybe we just jump in and talk. Well, let's see what we've got from some of the super chats that came in. Let me do a refresh and see if I missed any super chats. Kat Yarb says, don't even get me started on Stacy Abrams. K Bean was in the house. Oh, we missed you, K Bean. I saw that one come through, but I didn't pull it up. Says, great content, Rob. Worth it as always. Thank you, K Bean. Glad that you're here. Liberty or Death's in the house. Shout out to Liberty or Death. Liberty or Death said, I say when we take the House, we have our representatives nominate Rob for Speaker of the House. Oh, I'd be down for that. Yeah, I'd have a lot to say with that gavel. And believe me, folks, we would take care of business out there. All right, we're not waiting around for a bunch of derelict children, Congress people to get their acts together. We take care of business in our House of Representatives. Good to see you, Liberty or Death. Hope you're well, my friend. Molly Dolly said, I thought Sicknick's family debunked the J6 violence stories against him. Did his mother not agree with other family members, or did Hobbs get to her? Yeah, that was Gladys, right? And I thought the reporter said that that Brian Sicknick's mother was named Cindy. So is Gladys the grandmother? Mother of the Capitol Hill is... No, it's Gladys. I think the journalist just got his name wrong. Right, it is actually Gladys Sicknick. Mother of fallen Capitol Police officer. He died because of people like Kari Lake. The journo is Cindy. It's Gladys. Now, this was what I was looking to find earlier. So when we talk about the polls, the question is, are the polls accurate or not? And this came out from the Trafalgar Group. Do you believe your friends and neighbors are afraid to express their views about who they will vote for in the midterms? 50% say yes. 49% say no. This came up yesterday, also on Legal Mindset stream. Right? Why would people announce to a pollster, yeah, I'm a MAGA extremist insurrectionist who's out there to wreck America? That's what Joe Biden labeled them as, and so you'd have to sort of accept that label. Are you a Republican? Are you in the GOP? Are you voting for Trump? Any of those questions, anything like that, would put you into that bucket, right? And so this is being reflected in the Trafalgar Group poll. So why would those polls be accurate? If they're calling and asking people, those polls should be off by many, many points. Do you believe your friends and neighbors are afraid to express their views about who they will vote for? 61% say no. So friends will express it, but they won't express it to pollsters. Or they will express it. Wait a minute. Are afraid. Okay, so I think this is just by, this is by different people. Okay, so this is Democrats, right? Democrats say no. Let's see. But everybody else says kind of 50-50. GOP, they say yes. So Democrats are not afraid to report. Republicans are afraid to report. Do you believe your friends? No party? Yes. Okay. Even independents say that they're afraid to express their views. So you can see why there are big differences here. Who do you believe most of your friends and neighbors will vote for in the midterms? Ooh, look at that. 60% neighbors. Asking your neighbors. Who do you believe most of your friends and neighbors will vote for? 60% say the Republicans. Democrats, they say their friends will vote Democrat. Republicans say their friends will vote Republican, 92%. No party affiliation, 60% say Republicans. Age breakdown, age participation, 45 to 64 is going to be the biggest participation bracket. White people apparently voting most or participating most out of the demographics. Party participation, according to this poll, Democrats at 39%. That's not good for the Republicans. They better wake up and get out there and vote. 35.6%. Females representing this more, specifically you bros out there, The heck is this? This is ridiculous. Let's go, bros. Get to those polling locations. What are you doing? All right. We have, let's see here. Do you believe your friends and neighbors are afraid to express their view? These are just the crosstabs, so the actual numbers. Now, that's the numbers from the Trafalgar group telling us that there are some pretty interesting dynamics at play. And what else do we have? All right, we're going back over to the channel. We covered a little bit of Georgia stuff. And let's check back in on this Trump question. Is Trump going to announce tonight? It's a big question that we have here. Let's check in with the polls. The YouTube poll says 64% say no, Trump will not announce tonight. And that's pretty interesting because on locals, let's see what the locals crew says. I think it's a little bit tighter. All right, here, yep, we've got, it's a little bit different than 50-50. So we've got 45.8% say yes. It's no's. It's no's across the board. No's on YouTube, no's on locals that Trump announces tonight, saying he's probably not going to announce tonight. It's very, very interesting. And I'd be curious to see why you might think that. Maybe there's some comments over here. Yeah, here, John M16 is in the house. He says, I seriously doubt that Trump will announce tonight. He's probably going to announce tomorrow, early Wednesday, when a clear red tsunami is showing, so he can take credit and ride the coattails. So that he's not going to vote tonight. Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Let's see where he's at. Let's see if they have the stream up on C-SPAN yet. So we can see if he's speaking, because he should be speaking, or the rally should be heating up. It's 8 p.m. Eastern time is when it's supposed to officially start. And we don't have the stream up yet, but we'll check back in when it's there. All right, but that was John M16. Doesn't think that he's going to announce tonight, which would be the safer bet, obviously. But it's kind of Trump. Like, wouldn't Trump, doesn't he want to capture all that attention? Jason on Blast says that shout out to Tim Pool and Tim Pool's new song, Genocide. Pretty awesome. Takedown of the Media. Play it for you. Well, I'll invite people to go over to his channel, of course, and play it over there. So you can play that over there because it's Tim's. It's not ours. Former says, I guess the Democrats are following the guidebook that was put in place for Floyd's multiple funerals. Says nothing more. Says the Democrats and their supporters have no soul. From former Elio. Good to see you, former Elio. All right. Rai T is in the house. Says the gall of the Democrats and the media to falsely accuse the Republicans of murdering police when countless coppers were attacked by left-wing rioters. I didn't hear a peep of them out of that one. Yeah, they were very, very full of double standards on that one. Shouting out to the Rumble crew over on Rumble. We've got Eric Scorpio, Anything's in the house. Crocius is in the house. I know Vientikis is out there playing. He's on game night over there. Shout out to V. All right, what else is happening in the election sphere? We've got some more updates. No, looks like no new updates on the Trump announcement. All right, let's just go back to the comments, shall we? Miss Lucky's here, says pond scum is not strong enough to describe their rhetoric. From Miss Lucky and Sergeant Bob, talking about the Gladys Sicknick story, I'm sure of it. All right, we're scrolling down on the local sense to see what we've got. We've got some time to kill. You know, we're kind of waiting until this thing gets started. Katie Hobbs' comment from Sergeant Bob says that Katie Hobbs found the basement just like Joe Biden. Former LEO says that when Lemon challenged Hobbs, the co-anchor started taking notes. Rewind it and take a look. Sasha Shisha says Trump giving DeSantis a nickname was blown out of proportion, in my opinion. I think it was just a friendly jab, but the media wanted to play with that and create unnecessary tension. Oh, yeah. That's the DeSanctimonious statement on that. Yeah. We have... Yeah, there was a lot of reaction to that. It was sort of... People were asking, was that necessary for him to say that in the month or in the days leading up to the midterms? And it's just kind of a Trump thing to do. I'm not so sure that I think it was well-timed in any way, but it's what Trump does, right? That's just kind of what he does. Sasha Shisha, thank you for that. Yeah, Uncle Shane says, I didn't like it. Yeah, it felt unnecessary, right? It felt very unnecessary. Like he was sort of testing it and not sure how well it went over. But he does that. Trump sort of tests things, from time to time. And, okay, so Molly Hemingway looks like she's over there. There's probably some live threads from Twitter that are detailing exactly what's going on at the rally. Let's see what we've got on this one. Molly Hemingway said that Marjorie Taylor Greene just showed up at the rally. So she arrived at the Trump-Vance rally in Ohio. Massive line to get in. Still hours from the start time. So Marjorie's there. Looks like she goes to a bunch of rallies. But we're asking ourselves, is he going to announce tonight? Like, why are people piling in there if they are piling in there? And I think there's probably a link up here. We've got some more reaction. This is... Here's one scene. Ron Filipkowski. This guy on Twitter, he sort of posts clips regularly to kind of dunk on MAGA. He's a very hard anti-MAGA person. But I like actually a lot of the clips that he posts because it's sort of, real. Like this guy, look at this guy. Look at this outfit. Outstanding.
So really, it hasn't affected me. About the inflation and how gas is up by, God knows what state you're in, you're paying a lot of money. How's that affected you?
It's really affected my wife more than anything. She's keeping the regular job. And so gas and everything goes up. And
shout out to his wife.
On the state is around the country is funded by $5, $10 tips from people, and the money I make on roofs and things. But so really, it hasn't affected me too much. About the inflation.
So that guy's wife's working. All right. So what's the big deal with that? I don't know what the big deal is. Sounds pretty reasonable. While we're waiting for Trump to get started, here's another clip from a prior rally, which was, I think, when he played a montage.
Right up here. How would you say your mental focus is? Nation.
I think it's a right for people to have bad health care.
Bad health care.
True international effort to pressure.
God, it's going to have you on my I can't believe I said that. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word.
Y'all ready for this?
I was
Foothills of Himalaya.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Foothills of Himalaya.
And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Wait.
All men and women created by you know the thing.
It holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to.
Anyway.
We went for two reasons. One, to... Come on, man! My the guy who runs that outfit over there. I've had a couple questions.
Having a rough time out there.
Not Representative Jackie, you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was.
Where's Jackie? She was killed in a car accident.
What am I doing here? Tucker. Yeah.
I got hairy legs that turn, that.
Thank you for your tolerance and listening to me. I appreciate it very much. What?
That's our president. Pretty brutal out there, but that's who is in charge. I just came across this article, interesting article. The Morning Call. Now, this looks like it is an interesting story about what's going on in Pennsylvania. Counties in Pennsylvania, they buck at a request for the party-by-party count of undated ballots. What? Says, I'm not sending them anything. This is from the Morning Call. Election officials in Lake County and elsewhere balked at a weekend request from the state for a party-by-party count of undated and wrongly dated ballots, shying away from making those counts public. Okay, so like there's a bunch of ballots that are problematic and the state wants to know about them, but they're not getting them to them. Al, director of the county election bureau, referenced the law that prohibits counting mail-in ballots before election day. Says, I'm not sending them anything. I'm not giving anyone any numbers about anything. That would be pre-canvassing. The request to counties was made on Saturday, 3 days before Election Day, in the form of a survey. Election board chief says, I have reservations about this request. Mail ballots that arrived at county offices with undated or wrongly dated outer envelopes have been the focus of multiple lawsuits. Okay, so in Pennsylvania, we've already got problems with ballots that have no dates on them. A state Supreme Court issued an order last week that said that those were to be set aside, which we talked about, right? There was a big question. We've got, different buckets of ballots, and gosh, it feels like 2020 all over again. Remember all the times I said the word buckets? Here on this channel, we got a bucket of this ballots with signatures, and this one doesn't have signatures, and this one has dates, and this one doesn't have dates, and this one came in before the deadline, and this one came in after the deadline. Remember that? All these buckets of ballots. Okay, so it's going to be the same deal again. Now, Pennsylvania has an issue where there are ballots that don't have dates on that outer envelope. They have a security, you put it inside the security envelope, that goes inside the outer envelope. And then there are rules that have to be followed. That outer ballot has to be dated so that you know that when it was sent, right? Otherwise, you can have ballots that show up after the election, which nobody wants, because then you get an opportunity then to maybe send more ballots in to close the deficit if you needed to. That could be a factor in close races when processing of mail ballots begins at 7 a.m. Tuesday. Acting Secretary of State said Monday the survey was sent out because the state does not have the undated ballot information by party. So in other words, we don't know if there's 1,000 ballots with Democrat names on them, or Democrat votes in them, rather, based on party. In a statement late on Sunday, Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf did not specifically mention undated or wrongly dated ballots, but said no voter should be disenfranchised simply because they made a minor error filling out their ballot. Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. The governor. No voter should be disenfranchised simply because they made a minor error in filling out their ballot. Of course. He encouraged counties to reach out to voters who have submitted ballots with minor but potentially disqualifying errors as soon as possible to let them know. He said there was no reason for the state why they would need to count before an election to get those figures. He said counties would have to use a statewide registry. It's crossing a line that's not been crossed before, asking for party affiliation in an election before counting the votes. They haven't decided how to respond. They're getting all sorts of requests. Oh my gosh, there's going to be lawsuits all over the place. It's going to be 2020 all over again. Court clarification issued in a separate matter related to these ballots. The state sent country supplemental orders, clarified a phrase. They didn't explain the phrase, quote, incorrectly dated. So the court needed to come through and explain that. The Saturday supplemental order defined it as a meaning dates on a mail that fall outside the range of September 19th through November 8th. Any dates outside of that, right, on the ballot, it is not counted. Great. All right, so that's over from the morning call. And what's happening in Pennsylvania. That state is going to be another big mess. This comes over from Detroit, from the Detroit News. It says police are investigating spikes and nails left in the GOP office parking lot. Oh, that's just wonderful. So evidently we're spiking out material now. People's cars. Oh, great. Here. Let's black mode this website. Police are now investigating spikes and nails left in the GOP office parking lot in Charlevoix. A $2,000 reward being offered for information leading to the arrest of a person who left nails to pop car tires in the Republican Party parking lot. Police officers were called on Saturday. Multiple items damaging vehicles. Investigators collected evidence from a scene. It's being examined. An anonymous donor is offering a $2,000 reward. They said in a statement that they were tire spikes. So they weren't just nails, they were tire spikes. Ooh. The devices were made from flattened bottle caps with roofing nails pressed through, and they were painted in black to blend in with the parking lot's blacktop. Look at that. Those sons of bees. Can you believe that? People are just the worst. Look at this. All right, so this is what they created. You got some Antifa goons or some losers out there who are taking bottle caps and putting nails through them and then spray painting them black. What a bunch of losers. Unbelievable. It's like, can you just fight fair, for crying out loud? Will you quit? Quit it. Gosh. That's ridiculous. Whoever attacked our Republican headquarters clearly wanted to commit bodily harm. Yeah, it's not just popping tires, right? What if, a nice lady is just driving home from work. Oh, what's going on with my tires? That's weird. Hops on the freeway, dead. Because the tire explodes and she careens into another vehicle, right? Not good. Decried the act, says Americans disagree with this. We condemn this horrible act of violence. The Michigan Conservative Coalition, nonprofit, operates in Michigan. And if you have any information about that, you certainly should let them know, because it is very inappropriate. All right, and let's see what other news we've got. They're telling us that in Arizona, it might take until Thursday to get results, because we got a bunch of knuckleheads here. And, Katie Hobbs is running, and she's supposed to be our Secretary of State. This came out from 538. When are we going to know the results? Okay, the voting starts tomorrow. The voting should end tomorrow. But when are we going to get an outcome on this? They tell us that in 2020, due to slow vote counting, is what they said. You like that? Slow vote counting. Okay. It took days until Saturday, November 7th, for them to finally declare Joe Biden won. They say we likely won't have to wait that long this year, but it is again possible that we won't know the winners of the 2020 election on election night, 2022. States like Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania that are key to control could take multiple days to count them and count their votes. What we know, here's what we've got. Click on a state for a detailed description of its key races. So let's take a look at Arizona, for example. Timing of the results. Polls close 9 p.m. Eastern, so that'll be 6 p.m. our time. No results will be reported until 8 p.m. Eastern, so that'll be 8 p.m. our time. At which point we're expecting to get a big batch of votes. All right, so by about 6 p.m. or 8 p.m., we should have an idea. Yeah, and there's some comments coming in. I just saw 4 Alpha Zulu on YouTube. Says, Rob, I'm 52 years old enough to remember when we had results by midnight or 1 a.m. before all this technology crap. I remember it too. I remember okay, it's done. This is what happened. It's over. And now we're going to have a bunch of litigation, I think, that's associated with many of these cases, they will be cases, but with many of these races, especially the close ones. So what's another big one? Let's take a look at Pennsylvania. Here's Pennsylvania. 8 p.m. Eastern time. Secretary of State is keeping expectations low because they don't want to give you those results very quickly. While Election Day votes are expected to be reported on election night, officials are not allowed to start processing absentee ballots until Tuesday morning. Counting those votes could take days. So Tuesday morning, the absentee stuff, hopefully less time than 2 years ago. Why fewer absentee ballots? Mostly done counting by Wednesday morning. Oh, gosh. All right, so Pennsylvania will be a Wednesday morning thing. And remember, I can't even go there. I was going to say what we talked about the last election. You know, it's just a mess. Okay, so what other states are very important? Of course, we've got Georgia, and let's go check that one out. That's a close call. So when are those results going to come in? Florida should be pretty clear, right? That's a Rubio win, very likely, and then Ron DeSantis win on that one. Georgia, okay. Georgia's new election law gives counties more time to process absentee ballots and requires them to finish counting all votes by 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. What? Why? Why do they keep doing that? Why do they keep extending all of these things out way past the deadline? So the election's going to be on Tuesday, and we're definitely not going to have, they're not going to be done, at least according to law, until Wednesday. Expected to help the state avoid the delays in 2020. Well, by what? Pushing the deadline back? That's our typical government there. Oh my gosh, give me a joke, or give me a break. It's like, oh, I can't get it done by Friday. Okay, well, you have until Monday now. Perfect. Yeah, that's going to help our delays big time because there's not even any delay now because you gave us an extra day. All right. But, all right, let's go back over to C-SPAN and see what C-SPAN has for us. See if they got this stream booted up here. They haven't. What the heck? All right, so we'll see if there's another feed somewhere. There's going to be a right side broadcasting feed, I'm sure of it. But I wanted to see if C-SPAN had it up for us. We'll give it another minute or two. Or maybe it's up on YouTube. We'll pull that up. Now, we're going to have to be very careful on this, right? There may be, we're on YouTube here, so there may be some censorship happening. We have our YouTube censor back there. If Trump starts going off into some, election stuff, 2020 election stuff, we'll have to zoom out on that one, obviously. But Allison Cole says, I cannot go through this again. It's too stressful. Oh, we don't know what he's going to do tonight. Everybody's saying no, right? Everybody's saying no. Feels like no. I sort of think that he could do it, because it's Trump. He's, he just kind of does that stuff. But we'll have to see. Now we'll just wait and see. We'll see what's going on, and we'll just keep chatting and hanging out. But C-SPAN also doesn't have it up on YouTube, so let's check right side. I think they're broadcasting it. And we've got the new YouTube search features and all this stuff. Is right side on there? Are they on YouTube? I don't know if they are broadcasting on YouTube. I also want to try Rumble. Well, all right, we'll do Rumble. We just have a couple minutes, and then hopefully C-SPAN starts up their stream. Rumble. Okay, going over to Rumble for right side. Oh, there it is. Actually, looks like Trump's account might have it. So Donald Trump is now on Rumble. Did you see this? Whoa, I didn't know that. Okay.